In 1973, I moderated a debate between Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and controversial scientist Dr. William Shockley, who lectured all over the country about the innate inferiority of black people. Today, another bombshell suggests empirical evidence of black biological inferiority, the bell curve. A book by Charles Murray and the late Richard Herrnstein cited statistics alleging that blacks on average score 15 points below whites on IQ tests. They compared averages, not individuals, the authors asserted. True, because some of the highest test scores ever registered on IQ tests were made by blacks. However, the author's premise reinforces the racialist eugenics theory of African inferiority. We invited Charles Murray to present his views on this program. He refused. But joining me to examine this issue is the woman who took on Dr. Shockley and his views on Aryan superiority. I'm Tony Brown. We'll be back with Race and Intelligence. My guest is Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, a psychiatrist and author of ISIS Papers, The Keys to the Colors. Dr. Welsing, welcome back to our series.
After 20 years.
After 20 years.
I'm very glad to be here.
I'd like to say that Dr. Shockley's premise is as vivid today and as alive as it was when we did that program in 1973.
Precisely.
And his premise sounds, seems to be the father of Charles Murray's, the bell curve. Do you agree with that?
Well, I wouldn't say that it was a father. It's in the continuing wake of the discussion, the historic discussion of black genetic inferiority. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were being bombarded with violence in the black community is related to black people's genetics, but not anybody else's violence being related to their genetics. And so now Charles Murray is coming out, and Richard Herrnstein, that black genetic inferiority. And as a matter of fact, Tony, I'm very happy about it. The reason being is that 24 years ago, in my paper, The Cress Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism, White Supremacy, I said that the population that classifies itself as white has to continue to focus on color, genetics, sex, and numbers. And so 24 years after having made that statement, here we go again. So I'm not at all surprised, and I'm glad to have the Cress theory again validated.
The bell curve, and let me just say this, it's not just the bell curve. The week that the bell curve came out, 2 other books came out on the same subject, and they've had so much success. The cover of Time magazine, Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report had a feature story, New York Times 2 weeks in a row, very prominent play. The media just grabbed onto this idea. Now, with this happening, there's going to be a plethora of books on this very subject.
Precisely.
Now, in this new wave, unlike Shockley and Jensen to a lesser extent, the focus is on, quote, data, meaning that someone is empirically saying that they can demonstrate that there is biological inferiority among blacks, and that it turns on one statistic, and that one statistic is that blacks make on average, and they were careful to say not individuals but average, because it never could have gotten off the ground with individuals, because too many black individuals are exceptions to this rule. But on average, blacks make 15 points less than whites. Now, what is your direct refutation of that alleged empirical evidence?
Well, do you see, I would say this, that first of all, I'm a psychiatrist, a general psychiatrist, child psychiatrist. We've always looked at IQ tests as being very directly related to the environment. Now, if someone doesn't want to closely examine the environment, all of the dimensions of the environment, then someone could easily say, well, it's not the environment that makes the difference. Do you see, I maintain that it is the environment that makes the difference. And on Sunday, recently, article was in one of the major newspapers in Washington, D.C., where a young white male, senior at University of Maryland, had his skin darkened, and he went to the South. He could have stayed in Maryland, but he went to the South. He was going to be black because he did not believe when blacks would say it's racism, he thought that that was really just an excuse. So he had his skin darkened by a dermatologist, and he went to the South, and he could only tolerate the oppression for 2 days before he came running home and crying to his mother, "I can't deal with it, I can't deal with it." Now what I'm saying is that here is someone who can, you know, the chemical is not given, and so he turns back white. He knew he had that escape, but he couldn't tolerate the insults in the restaurant, the various day-to-day, 24 hours a day, 7-day-a-week assaults that a person of color, on his psyche, that the person experiences.
Not physically.
Not physically,
but psychologically.
you see, but it's not generally talked about. You see, in other words, he talked about such things as being ignored when he would go into a restaurant.